You're listening to Soul Talks, a monthly reflection with Psanctuary Sacred Mushroom Church. I'm Courtney Rose, co-founder and executive director, here to share with you behind-the-scenes updates and soulful reflections to inspire your journey with the mushroom and remind you we are walking this sacred path together. Hello and welcome to our second ever Soul Talk with Psanctuary. I am excited. I'm a little nervous to dive into our theme of the month with you here in this video, which is our origin story with Psanctuary. It is not every day that we get to reflect very intentionally on the last 15 plus years of our life. And that is what has been happening for me as we are doing all of this planning and storytelling and preparation for talking about our origin story and what have been the big challenges and moments where we thought we may not get through this one. Just really not being able to see the light, and then a miraculous type of solution or person showing up and raising their hand and saying, I can help with that. And the sky's clearing and everything's starting to make sense again. There's been a lot of that. There's been so much of that, you all, in the last 10 years in particular, which brings me to telling you what had us choose this theme for July. And that is, this is the 10-year anniversary of Eric and I being arrested for possession of sacred mushrooms. And I already feel my heart swelling up a little bit when I think about that, because I wish I could tell myself 10 years ago, which I guess I can because we are living in a quantum reality. So I'll just go ahead and tell myself 10 years ago, as I'm standing there hanging sheets on a clothesline, because I was managing an Airbnb business at the time, hanging sheets on a clothesline and really reflecting on the last 48 hours of that, from that moment, which had been turmoil, full of fear and sadness and not knowing how my life might change, and seeing a whole lineup of police cars, the sheriff, turning into our driveway as I'm hanging these sheets. This is a big kind of moment to really sit with and remember, and it's hard. It's really hard to remember the feelings that were there with me. And there was also this sense that washed over me. And maybe, who knows, but maybe that sense was my higher self or me right now talking to me. Who knows? That's pretty psychedelic of a thought. But there was this sense that washed over me, and this voice that said, it's all working out. It's going to be okay. How? How is it going to be okay? I had no clue. And that sense of falling off of a cliff and some kind of faith free fall went on for probably 6 months to a year after that moment. So it wasn't just being arrested. It wasn't just being in a jail cell. It wasn't just being on house arrest or going through probation. It rippled out into my life for quite a while. So that's been the type of reflection that I've been sitting with, to give you all just a little sneak peek into the last week that I've had with Eric also as well. We've been going through a lot of pictures, having a lot of conversations about this origin story, which isn't just Eric and I, and it is so much more than the big week of our arrest. There is this whole magnificent evolution, a tree, so to speak, that grew from that dirt, that pile of dirt that was 10 years ago that we didn't know at the time was so rich. That moment was like the compost of all compost that went into this fertile soil that has led us to the baby tree that is Psanctuary. There was Eric forming PLEDG, psilocybin liberation, education, diversity, and guidance, which allowed us to fulfill our community service hours whilst on probation. There was us making the decision that we are going to reclaim our rights. It may not look exactly how we want it to look by any means, but we are making the decision to reclaim our rights, do the service, the work that we came here to do in this life and in this world. And starting the retreats in Jamaica was an act of proclamation for both of us in saying that experience of being arrested was a blessing, because without that experience, who knows what would have happened. But we do know that from that experience, we learned we don't want to live underground. We don't want to be doing this beautiful work that deserves to have all of the light shown on it. It deserves to be front facing and public and accessible. And it's work to be proud of, not work to be hiding and afraid of being discovered. And that's how we were living before we were arrested. We have a wonderful, it's a magnificent 4-hour podcast where we dive in to all the details of that whole arrest story, which, if you're interested, it's there. It's the very first one. There have been a surprising number of folks who have finished it, which is really cool. We will put a link in the show notes just to make it easy for you to find that episode if you're interested in listening to that awesome story. And so there is a lot of potential inspiration to be had from telling this story of Eric and I being arrested, having our rights taken away 10 years ago. We had no prior criminal record ever, not even a misdemeanor for anything. And now all of a sudden we have felonies and how to get a job. Didn't know how that was going to happen. Couldn't vote. Couldn't have firearms. Like, the list goes on of ways in which we felt deflated. That is just the surface level, what I just mentioned. So being able to look back at that and see that even though we didn't know how things were going to work out, day by day, resources appeared. People appeared. Gifts from God, from the all, continued to appear. We draw from that experience and making it through that experience, and not just making it through that experience, but co-creating beautiful services, beautiful opportunities for personal discovery and connection with this amazing thing that we're living in and get to wake up in every single day. We created a wonderful retreat center in Jamaica, which served over 1,000 people and is still serving people today. And even though it didn't look like how we envisioned necessarily it would look like. It wasn't the ongoing community that we had hoped that it would be. It was something wonderful that saved lives on a monthly basis and is still living on. And we got to learn from that experience that we don't want to be charging people $6 to $12,000+ for a week of being in community and communing with the mushroom. There's nothing wrong with that, but it's just not how we want to focus our energy. And that whole realization and all the little things that came out of that not being in alignment led us to Psanctuary and where we are today, co-creating something with you, something with our membership and the people, the committee members and our board members, past and current and future, that are stepping into Psanctuary now. We are getting the opportunity to again reclaim our right to commune with the mushroom and talk with God and have this experience that is not new. These mushrooms have been here way before our ancestors ever arrived. And we are living in a time where those of us who, for one reason or another, have had access to information, education, and supported experiences with the mushroom to know that this experience with psilocybin isn't just safe. This experience is really important to be able to have. This experience with sacred mushrooms can remind me who I am and what I'm here to do. It can heal my spirit and bring life and joy back into my relationships with the people that I love, or help me discover new relationships. And that is the vision that we as a community have been holding with Psanctuary, to live in a world with supportive and joyful communities, empowered to discover our own divinity with sacred mushrooms and each other. And so July isn't just about our, as in Eric and my own and Athena and Amy's origin story. It's about your origin story too, and ours as a collective community. This is an opportunity for you to reflect on how you got to be where you are and the possibilities of what's to come, with heart, with intention, with exploration together. We can build something. We are building something so beautiful for generations to come. So let's jump into some of the events. I'm not going to share everything with you right now, but we have a really exciting party of a month in July. The first week of July, we're kicking it off with the refreshed Psanctuary podcast, which Eric is now hosting. I am the first guest on the new and improved 2.0 Psanctuary podcast. That episode is going to live premiere on an evening the first week of July. And then we have the long awaited live presentation of sacred mushrooms throughout history. So Eric has given this presentation many a times in person to audiences. He gave the presentation at Maine Fungi Fest last year in the big auditorium there. And every time he gives this presentation, I look around at the audience and it's like revelations are happening inside of the majority of people that are witnessing him talk about, from cave paintings to cathedral engravings to serpent symbology, talking about the mushrooms being spoken of as food of the gods for centuries. So a lot of it is based in representations of cultural practices through art. So it's going to be an amazing live webinar experience. So make sure to mark your calendars. We're going to be releasing that information very soon. And then we have a whole amazing smorgasbord, if you will, of live premieres, conversations with the folks who have been around, some of the founding members of Psanctuary since the very beginning, who have stood by our side and really helped us see the light in moments of complete darkness and feeling like this is it. This is the grand finale of what we have been trying to build. It's over. It's done. And it has been those people that have stood by our side in the darkest moments when nothing made sense and it seemed like the world was against us. Those people continuing to cheer us on and saying, you will get through this. It's darkest before dawn. You will get through this. It is those people that I would love to dedicate July to and talking about our origin story, because without them, we would not be here. And we have some exciting announcements happening in July. I know many of you watched our annual review of 2024 and what's to come in 2025 presentation in February that we gave, where we talked about some of our goals for 2025 with Psanctuary. And some of these announcements that we'll be making in July are those goals starting to come to fruition, which, again, there have been moments, you all, in the last 6 months where it just seemed not possible. And there's still so much work that we have to do, but I'm really looking forward to making some of these announcements about our membership, our seminary, and continuing to expand what is accessible for our members and ministers, and just continuing to come together and learn together and gather with the mushroom is continuing to be the most rewarding work that I could imagine. So stay tuned. We're going to be talking about that a lot, what membership looks like moving forward, what joining our seminary looks like moving forward in 2025 and into 2026, coming together to be stewards of our community together, because it takes all of us. I know the feeling of wondering, is what little old me, is what I am doing in the world day to day, is it really like making any difference at all? I mean, at all. I wake up, brush my teeth, may do a little stretching, eat breakfast, go to my job, show up on Sunday service, tune into a minister call, go to bed, do it over again. Whatever it looks like for you, it can be hard to step into the perspective sometimes of that. No, actually, how I show up every day and the energy that I contribute into what I show up for is making all the difference in the world. In fact, I am here, and therefore the world as it is could not exist without me. And so I would implore you to really step into that perspective with me in July, as I and Eric and Athena and Amy and all these founding members and ministers with Psanctuary are doing this sacred work of reflection of these past 4+ years in co-creating this community. I implore you to do the same and really see how much of an impact you've had, even if it's just showing up on Sunday service and being a face that others get to feel held by, having that energy and presence, and contributing whatever monthly donation amount you've been contributing to help this community grow and thrive. That is a big impact. And from the bottom of my heart, I am so incredibly grateful for you listening and watching. Because without you, this wouldn't exist in how it is. So thank you. And thank you for listening. If you've gotten all the way to the end of the second ever Soul Talk, I'm really excited to see how this evolves as time goes on. So let's close out. We've come together with intentions of service to the land and all of its inhabitants. It is in our hearts to go forth into the world with the collective consciousness. May peace be with you as you go forth into the world, and I look forward to seeing you on the next one.